For the fifth step, what we're going to do is identify valuable content. And we're going to do that by going to the top content page. And the way to do that is under the behavior tab, we're going to go down to site content and then all pages. And what that's going to produce is a list of all of the the most frequently visited pages for us. And so what we want to do is we want to, or the highest ever page views, I should say, we want to take a look at all of the columns here, but particularly we want to look at the last column, which is the dollar index value column. And when we take a look at this page, or this report, I should say, we can see that, again, this is being ranked by the number of page views, but we want to go over here and look at this page value amount. And so we can see that there are differences in the amount that each page is worth. You can also, I mean, all of this is valuable. You can take a look at the number of unique page views. You can take a look at the average time on the page, which again gives us that orbit. You know, how tightly they're orbiting to us. The higher the time on the page, the better for us. How many entrances come in, what the bounce rate for the pages are. This column is actually pretty much useless for a number of reasons, which we won't get into here, but you can really just kind of put a big X through that. You don't want to pay a lot of attention to that page. But the page value is very, very beneficial for us. This is it basically quantifies the bottom line impact of the page. And so the best or the highest value page in the top, you know, again, ranked by page views would be this basket, which would make sense. It's an e-commerce site. But some of the other pages that are worth a lot of money is the sign-in page. And that kind of makes sense, right? Because when you commit, chances are, so when you commit to signing in, chances are you're going to purchase. Another high value page is a store page. Again, if you're already browsing and looking at the store items, if you get to that point, you're probably going to buy. So we want to pay attention to these values. Now, if all of these values are 0, then that tells me that you might not have e-commerce turned on. And we talked about how to do that even with a site that is not selling a product, that we could even just, and we went through kind of those 4 strategies, and then the 5th one was assign a value, even if it was $1. That will help generate this page value, and it uses a sophisticated algorithm to provide us with this value that allows us to tell ourselves and our clients and our supervisors, hey, this page is the most valuable page on our site. Now, if you want to, you can, of course, rank order these pages and determine, you know, the highest value. We see here that this men's outerwear hoodies are actually the most valuable page for us, and the least valuable page are these zeros here. And so you have the quick view. Of course, people aren't going to buy from the quick view. The recycled infuser bottles not doing so hot, etc. So we can look at both of the high end and the low end simply by clicking on the page value here. So how do you calculate the dollar index? Because this is something else that I want to take a look at. The dollar index, as it says here, is the average value for a page that a user visited before landing on the goal page or completing the e-commerce transaction. And so what the formula is this guy right here. It's the e-commerce revenue plus the total goal value divided by the number of unique page views for the given page. And so you can actually, like I said, use this as a revenue source or a revenue indicator, even if the page is not set up to have a direct purchase of a product like Chrysler or even Merciers, right? Because Apply doesn't generate revenue. It's not the page where you go to pay your bill. So it's not a revenue generating site, but it's still, we want to be able to indicate the value to the organization. If you're having trouble with this and aren't really sure how to do this and set this up, I give you a URL here at the bottom that you can follow, and it'll give you more information on how to create goals and get the dollar index set up. And so with this top content page, what we're looking really for is which are the pieces of content that create great value versus low performing values. And I'm going to want to compare, just like I did in the last step, I'm going to want to compare the 2 sites, one that's performing really well and one that's not performing as well, and that are generating traffic. So I showed you the $0 page value, but A lot of those had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 page views. I'm going to want to look at my top page views and then compare the two, one that's low performing, one that's high performing. And so what you want to know is what are the commonalities among the high performing pages, what are the commonalities among the low performing pages. And so then what I can do is run experiments. I could say, hey, if this page had 4 ads versus this page had 1 ad where I charged more for the ad, does that work better? And so I can then run those two experiments and compare the two pages based on page value. What I'm going to do in my notepad is I'm going to look at what content makes me money. I'm going to do that by looking at page value. I'm going to look at what needs to be reevaluated on my poor performing pages, especially the poor performing pages, especially my top, let's say 10 to 20 page views, the ones that are ranking the highest. I want to look and see in terms of those top 20 pages, what pages are performing well for me, what are making me money and what are not, compare them with the better performing pages and come out with some sort of analysis. I want to look at 1 or 2 pages specifically or groups of content that I can fix. So I want to be able to make that recommendation to them from that. And then I want to do a back of the napkin improvement impact numbers. So this basically means, hey, listen, I know that this site's converting well, and these are the things that we can do. And when they are running well, this is the price, this is the page value. And so then what you want to do, and again, this is back of the napkin, this isn't sophisticated finance detailing. And then you're going to say, okay, well, if I improve to this page, I expect it to convert at this percentage, and based on the good performing or well performing page, this is what the value is that I can expect from it. Step 6 is pretty straightforward. It's questioning the search strategy. And so I'm going to use Google Analytics to pull out the top keywords, and then I'm going to drop them into something called Wordle. And what you do is you want to go into Google Analytics. What I'm going to do is go down here to Acquisition, Search Console, and queries. Now, we're obviously looking at the Google Merchandise Store, which this is already connected and you don't have to do anything. If you run into a problem, let's say with a client, and you click on Search Console, you might get let me show you, because Merciers does not have theirs set up here. You might get a report that looks something like this. And so it asks you to set up the Search Console data sharing. Now, it does walk you through here how to do it. You can also Google it. But it does involve going up here to admin and then under the keywords permissions, and then basically just clicking a link saying, yes, I do want to do this. Pretty easy to do, but you might run into it, like I said, if you're working with a client that doesn't already have it set up. Thankfully for us, Google Merchandise Store does. So what we're looking here at is all of the search terms that have been used and their frequency. And so if we did a distribution of this, let's see if I can do a distribution. It shows what the account is for all of the keywords across the site. But one of the things that we're most interested in is just taking a look at these, and I want to look at them in a more visual aspect, and that's what we can use Wordle for. Now, Google does have a word cloud over here, a term cloud, and so if we pull that up, you will get this from the search query. You can do that from impressions. You can do it for basically anything. And what I would do is I would maximize down to 500 rows. And then you get, let's see if I can scroll up here, you get this wonderful guy. Now, you can do the same thing here, it's just not as pretty. When we're looking at this, we can see obviously Google T-shirt, Google shirt, Google T-shirt, Google T-shirt, Google backpack, Google merchandise, YouTube hoodie. They're all standing out pretty significantly. Now, it is branded, right? So they definitely want their brand name. We're going to talk about this in a second. They definitely want their brand name out there, but also we see some product merchandising being named. So I'm sure they're pretty happy with that as well. So here's an example, and you saw this on the first screen. Here's an example of what happens when I go into Wordle. You can actually export. There's a button on Analytics that just says export. And you just click export it as a CSV file, and then you literally copy and paste the list into Wordle, and Wordle will give you something like this. And this is actually a screenshot from one of Avinash's examples, so I just decided to use it. Now, what you'll notice about this is a couple things. You have words like analytics and web, which he wants to be known for, even Google and survey, because those are big words to him. He also has some brand names or brand terms, Avinash, Koshik is his last name. So we see his brand terms here. You want to be concerned, and this is where a lot of people screw this up. You want to be concerned with both the head and long tail. This little wordle tells me how sophisticated the company is, because one of the things that I want to be looking at is not just the brand terms ranking, but actually the long tail, the key phrases that bring 1, 2, 3, or 4 people to the site. These are what they refer to as impression virgins. These are people who don't know your company, aren't going to go out and necessarily search for your company directly, but are looking for key terms like analytics, and they're going to land on your company's webpage. And so just looking at the keyword list that we did over here in Google Analytics is a really poor way of understanding, because you're going to miss, if you just look at it, you're going to see a lot of the head terms, a lot of the brand terms, and you're going to miss these terms that are only getting 1, 2, or 3 clicks, but really do tell quite a great story. So this helps us, again, kind of visualize what people are searching for to get to our site. And again, we want non-branded keywords to be very high versus branded words. Let's take a look at a company, a couple different companies here. The first one down here that I want to point out is Chase Bank. And so they're doing a really terrible job of maintaining or managing both the head and the tail. They're only managing the head of their search, because you see they're branded Chase Bank. Now you see way down here we have credit card, an account, and online. Those are great, but they're very, very small in comparison to Chase. Now, so their brand is well known, but they're not ranking high for all these other words. So if I go and search for Chase, so think about this philosophically. This would mean that somebody's going into Google, Yahoo, etc., and specifically searching for your brand name. So if they're already searching for your brand name, they've already had some contact with you. What I'm looking for is people who are searching for a bank, credit cards, account, online account. That's what I want to rank high, because that will help me build new prospects. Now up here we have the Church of Latter-day Saints, and again I'm using this from Avinash's examples. This is in no way, saying that this is the bent of religion that I'm into. I'm religious neutral in this class, but you can see that they're doing a pretty good word of emphasizing words that they need to emphasize, and downplaying some words that they need to downplay. And so Latter-day Saints, that LDS obviously is quite large, but the big words here: church, Jesus, Mormon, temple, Christ, scripture, saints. These are the words that they really want to put out there. And some of the words, just knowing some of their strategy, they want to downplay right now somebody called Joseph Smith. Not that he's any lesser part, but he's more of the brand name. And so what they want to be known for is all these Bible, right? And they want to be known for these words here, and not as much, even though it's pretty big, but they don't want to be as known as much for these types of brand terms. If you take out church, what else do they take out? Church, Mormon, LDS, which are kind of their brand terms, this is what you're left with. And so you can actually do this in Wordle by, I think, a right click, taking these out, and you're going to come up with this. And now I have an even better picture of what their tail is. And this, and again, only knowing what they're trying to put out there, this looks pretty good to me, right? History, Christ, saints, Jesus, right? And again, we still see some of these branded terms here, but they're not as in ladder, but they're not as big as they, as for example, Chase. And so for bonus, with search, you can actually look at your internal site search words. Now, what's been interesting to me is I have seen a couple of my clients not really having a lot of internal site search, and it's just interesting to me, because I don't know if that's a good thing. People aren't using the search because they can find the information so quickly, or if there's something wrong with their search. And I think it might be a combination of both. You can see that the Google Merchandise Store certainly does have internal site search. They've only had, let's say 60 to 70 people using their search, and they're only searching for terms gopher, ingress, and jersey, and that's it. And I guess that's from the last month. So if we bring that out over a few more months, let's see what that does. I know you can't see this. That's a little bit better. So let me show you what I'm seeing here. So from April to September, you can see that the search terms are a little bit more broad. Okay, and so this gives us some ideas of what people are looking for inside our website. Now, why are they looking for these things? Can they not find them? One of the things that we use with internal site search is to make modifications to our website. People are constantly searching for things like backpacks, right? 1% of people who come to our site, not a huge number, but 1% of people who come to our site in the past, we'll say month, almost a month, have been looking for backpacks. And so maybe that's something, and maybe this is why they did it. Maybe this is something that they want to put on the front of their webpage so that people can find it easier, and so on and so forth. So bags, backpacks, I would look at this and say, what's going on with this? Maybe we need to take a look at it. I might even go a little bit deeper, again, not with this analysis, this kind of skim coat top 10 analysis, but maybe, on at another point after I've met with the client, I might even go a little bit deeper to see people who are searching for these keywords, are they converting? Because that even makes me more apt to put it on the front page or to move it around so it can be a little bit more easily found. So what you want to know is, what is the intent that's coming through when people type in your internal site search or your internal search engine? It helps inform your external search strategy, just like I said, in your keywords. So again, lots of people are searching internally for backpacks. On the more positive side, people are looking for backpack and gopher, YouTube, Android. Those are things that I might want to push through external site search using some keywords so that people can easily find it from outside, doing a simple Google search, and are getting directed to a page that's most relevant. So even if you spend like 20 minutes on this, I really feel like you can do the first 3 here. You can do a head and tail balance in the search referrals, just like we did before, right? So making sure that these the corporate brand names and the tail, there's a balance between the two, and you're not like Chase Bank. The connection between the business strategy and search. If we're pushing t-shirts, and I go into, do a word cloud, and t-shirts isn't showing up anywhere in my visual spectrum, something's wrong. Also, it helps me track over a period of time, to show the growth of these things. And everybody likes to be visual. Everybody likes to read pictures. So this is a really good way to do that. The other thing that I would do from the notepad is, from this, what are the 5 examples of awesomeness or opportunity? And so looking at the keywords, both from internal and external, what are 5 examples of how we're doing really, really well? Hey guys, listen, we've really been pushing YouTube through some of our direct advertising. Our internal site search is at 504, which is 3%. It's been trending, which is an uptick. Again, you could do comparison year over year. It's an uptick from last year of X amount of percent. And then you might want to do one delta between internal and external search. So take a look at your top internal search terms. Take a look at your top external search terms. What are the trends? What's the comparison? What are the similarities? What are the differences?